let's think for the next step for us. So I think the next step is the ability to, mark one as done. So one that's completed, right? So how do we want to go about doing that? Let's see, to-do test. So two to-dos can be created. So we'll go after this one. We'll create a new test. And this will be a to-do can be completed, right? So this one's actually going to have a setup phase within it. So we're going to create the new to-do. And we can actually just do this. So we can create one like this, which is fine. My first to-do, right? Or we could probably set up a factory, which we could take a look at, but it's only a title. Let's do it. Let's create a factory, right? So we'll do PHP artisan make factory to do factory. All right, so that goes into our database also. We have factories. So this is our to-do factory. We have a user factory that's already done. That comes from Laravel. But the to-do factory, we're going to set this up. So this is the definition, and we're going to create a title. And this is going to be something, we're going to use something called faker. So this, faker. And we'll just say, can we have a title? I wonder if that works. Gender. Oh, I think that's for a person. So we'll say sentence. And we'll just say 3 words. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. And this should actually do it. Now, if we go to our models, we do use has factory. So I think this is automatically set up for this. We could do this. To do factory. We're not going to have to do anything like that. And I don't know if we have to do this, but create. I think that's how we do that. So that's going to create our, let's test that out. So we have a to do that equals that. Let's just die dump our to do here. Let's see what we get. And yes, it created one, and it created one with 3 little 3 words for the title, which is fantastic. So that's our to do. We don't have to worry about that. So we can now, we're actually not going to even store it anywhere. What we're going to do, oh no, we are going to do that. So what I want to do is I want to response, and this is going to equal this. We'll do a patch, and I'm going to get rid of my face. We're going to patch, so we'll do to-do /1. Actually, we don't need this then. I was going to reference the ID number of this, but we don't need to. We know that they're always going to be 1. And what I want to do is we'll pass in completed is true. Now, I like to do this response assert okay. That just means, it got a 200 or a 201, however it wants to handle that. So we're going to tap. We're going to say to do first, and we're going to do a function, and that's going to be called to do. And this assert equals. Now what I like to do here is we're actually going to test the, well, I didn't create the title here, so we're not going to do that. We could pass a title in here. So if you wanted the title to be my first to do, then we could test that down here just to make sure that that's still, like we didn't overwrite it or anything. My first to do. Just in case like your update or your patch goes in and, updates everything and you don't want it to, right? Maybe it removes the title. Some things happen, a little bug here or there, but this will catch that, which is nice. This assert true. We want to assert that to do Let's see, how do we want to do this? This is another fun thing that we can do while making our test. We get to like kind of sketch out what we're wanting to, how to use everything, right? So do we want this to be is completed or just completed? How do we want to interact with our app? So the to do, let's see, maybe to do is completed, or how about complete? I like is completed. And we can reference this as a direct item, but it's not going to work just yet. So equals this, we need to actually do the to do title. So run this check. This is going to say, oh, we got a 404, right? So this already caught us. We have to go to our web routes and we have to go route patch. We're going to do to do, and then we're going to need this is a wildcard. So this is going to allow any kind of ID to come through for us. And we're going to also reference the to-dos controller class, and that'll be updates. So we save that. We're going to say that is actually not. Update doesn't exist, right? So we're going to run over to our to-dos. Do this right now. Update. So we're going to have a request item, right? Request. And we're also going to take in the ID, right? So we'll call that to-do ID. Actually, I think it has to be called ID because but if we wanted here, change the name to to-do ID, we could do that, and then we could reference that within here. Which makes it a little bit more explicit, you know, when eventually we might have more than just one ID coming through, so having it there is kind of nice, and this is just good practice, right? So we're going to do to do equals to do find to do ID, right? So this would be the first one. We could do find or fail, but that is actually not what we want to do because we don't have a test to back that up, right? We want to write a test that says, hey, if you're looking for something that doesn't exist, then we could start looking, you know, start using other stuff like that. So we have this, and we're going to do to do update, and we're going to just say the title. That's going to be request title, right? And then we can return response JSON. I think you could do this. I don't know. Let's try it out. Okay. Integrity constraint violation. Null constraint failed to do's title. Set title to nothing. All right, so this is interesting. We should have had we're not changing the title, but complete. Title. So complete, we're passing in completed. So this is a little tricky to kind of navigate here, but we're sending in a completed, you know, it's going to be true or false, and then it's going to check if it's complete, right? So sometimes you just have to remember that kind of stuff. Now this should give us, no, it does not like that. Let's see. I think we can actually change this to Boolean. Will it like that better? Not null constraint failed. Still that. Complete. Completed. Oh. Completed. There we go. So now on to the next thing. So this says that it's failing search that null is true, and that's just looking at this guy right here. So this is actually where that message helps us out. Is completed is not true. So now when we run this, we'll get a slightly better error. So is completed is not true. So failed, null is true, right? So this is kind of nice. Allows us to kind of, okay, it's the is completed part. That makes more sense. But this is going to take us into a new kind of fun area. So we're actually going to want to dive into the actual to-do model. So we're going to actually go into a smaller unit-sized test. So let's go and do that. Let's create a PHP artisan make test. I want to, you know what? Let me zoom in one more time because I zoomed out before. That's better. PHP artisan make test is going to be a unit test. And we're going to just say to-do test. Again, another same exact name, except it's just going to go into the unit folder here. So this is actually going to be pulling in the test case from PHPUnit, whereas our features pull in from our test case that's created here. So this is just how Laravel does it. They kind of set it up for you. It creates the application. You can have other things in here for your tests. So it's kind of nice. But in here, let's see. Might not have to worry about it, but we might pull in the test case that Laravel provides. What we're going to do is I'm going to create a to-do here. And we're going to say to-do factory. And we're going to say make, right? And all this is doing is you have your option between make and you have create. Create is actually going to hit the database layer, which we don't really care about here. So make is just going to create a small thing that we can just use in memory and not really have to worry about it. So to do, so we're actually going to test this assert. That stuff gets in the way. Assert false, and that is to do is completed, because we want to make sure that it's not completed in the beginning of it, otherwise we're kind of wasting our time, right? So then we can do to do, this is going to be our act phase, to do complete, right? Or we could say mark complete, right? If that's what we wanted. This isn't bad. We'll just keep it as complete though. So then on our assert phase, this assert true to do is completed. All right. So we run this. And let's see what we get. We get unknown format sentence. Now, I was trying this earlier, and I think it has something to do with this test case. So Laravel, we want to kind of have it spin up in the background, and it's actually going to help us out here. So if we remove this and we import our test case from our tests and run that same test, it'll actually get past that issue. And it's actually going to say that null is false, which is actually further than where we were, which is a good thing. So in our to-do, if we scroll down here, we could create some things for our object, right? For our model. And a model can have a whole bunch of different things, and I created this little snippet that helps me, which kind of separates everything. So we have your attributes, your query scopes, relationships, and your methods. And it just kind of helps me keep organized, and when I start doing any of these any models, as they grow in complexity and in size, it's nice to know where everything belongs. This is just something that I like to do. You can do it or not. It's up to you. But I like it. So down here we have attributes. What we're going to do is create a attribute here, and we're going to do get is completed attribute. This is kind of like a magic function that happens behind the scenes. It's a Laravel thing, but we'll do return this complete. And we're going to do a little bang bang in the front of this. Bang bang, right? This is just going to convert anything into a Boolean for us. So now if we run that old test, let's see what we get here. Complete. All right, so we're actually here. Let's see. Die dump this. Let's see what we get here. So there is a complete in the fillable. Title complete is 0. So that's by all means should be working for us, right? If I do, well, die dump this complete, we get 0. Just to prove that that's where that's going. Yep, it's getting that. So this is true. This should work. Complete. All right, so what's the issue here? Oh, you see, this is, this is a thing. So we named the field complete, and we're doing a complete function, right? We're doing a method. So it's kind of like hard to tell what it is you're trying to do. So this could do mark complete or complete like that. I like to do our methods camel cased. So now when we go and do this, we go to do, and because we have this little thing here, we can go to our methods, we do met, and we're going to do mark complete. And this update, I'm going to say complete is true. All right, assert that false is true. Okay. This might be kind of a funny thing, but return. Let's see if this does anything for us here. No. All right, so I think we need this complete equals true, and then we'll just do that. Now we go. Now that is working. So that's pretty cool. But while we're here, having something that's marked as complete is nice and all, but wouldn't it be nice if we knew when something was completed? If we look at our to-do here, we won't have it here, but if we go back to here and we get our response for this, or better yet, go down here, we get our to-do out of this, we're going to see something interesting here. We're going to have our created at and our updated at. That's going to be a nice little date string for us. So what if instead of complete, we had completed at, right? And then we can know when something was completed for us. Might be nice to have something handy in the future, if you ever need to prove you did something at a certain time. Updated could be that too, but also what if you update the title and maybe you completed something but you went back and updated the title. Updated at would get updated even though you don't know when you completed something. So why don't we make this assert false is completed. We're going to keep that, and we're going to mark complete, and we're going to do all of this stuff, except it's going to be a little bit more interesting. So let's go to, we're going to run this test. We're going to go to create to-dos table, and instead of this being a Boolean, we're going to do a timestamp. And default is null. We're just going to do, let's see what happens there, right? So it says that we actually have, that it's still working. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look at what happens with our to-do here. And we just need the complete. All right, let's see, true, but we don't care about that. Let's go back to this. We're going to rename it to completed at. And this is actually nullable. Right, because we want it to be null when there's not anything there. We're going to go to our factory, get rid of this. And in our actual to-do, fillable is completed at. And so that's pretty nice. And then we can go back to our test. And to mark complete, we don't want it to be true. Let's go back to to-do. Let's, so when we mark complete, new carbon, and think if we do now, we might actually just be able to do now. I not need carbon for this. Yeah, pretty cool. So we actually, it does store as a carbon instance. It knows the date and everything. It creates everything for us, right? That's pretty dope. So if we go back to our test, get rid of that. Let's see if is completed still works for us, and it does. But it's slightly different now. Now we have an actual time, which is really, really cool. So now, if we go back to this test, our feature test, when we're actually asserting that something is completed and we're patching this, yeah, we're actually going to say this is something different now. It's a little bit more unique, and we don't need to pass all of this in. So I would say 1 complete, or maybe mark complete, keep it mark complete, maybe mark / complete, and then we can, you know, incomplete for other ones, and we can undo it. That's not a bad idea. Let's keep it. Let's try it out, right? So now we have this. Run that test. It's going to fail, and it's because it doesn't know where that thing is. So if we want to patch, running here, and we're going to do patch. We're going to do mark completed. And let's just go back to that to do test completed, right? Now if we go to web, so we have our to-dos controller, and we can start adding to this, because it doesn't have to just be the index, you know, create, edit, update, delete, all of that jazz. We can add other things in there. So let's see. So we can say Met, we'll say complete, right? And we'll do the to-do ID. So we'll do to-do equals to-do find to-do ID, and then to-do complete, or I think it's mark complete, and then return response JSON to do. Is completed is not true. All right, is complete. So if we go back to our web, we're going to mark as completed. To-dos update. We're not hitting that. So complete. Yep. So we're finding it. So if we go back to our to-dos controller, and we get rid of this, mark it complete, and return the response. And let's see, update to-dos set complete equals, which is now, which is awesome. Updated at where ID equals this. No such column complete. All right, so mark complete. Let's see if this will take us there. Nope. To do complete equals now. Right. It's not that. Completed at. And down here, we're going to do completed at as well. There we go. And so let's run this entire file. PHPUnit run file. Just make sure that everything's still working. We got 3 tests that are working, and that's 5 assertions right off the bat. All right, so another thing that we're going to want to do with our tests is we want to make sure that we're validating certain fields. When you have a bigger form, you're going to have more fields that need validation, but this is just one field that we're going to have, but we're going to still want to validate everything on it. So it's a good chance for us to start learning how to start validating everything for this one small little item that we have. And what I'd like to do is we're going to leverage doing a data provider. I should have a little snippet here for data provider, and I don't. Let's see. Snippet, insert snippet, data, test data provider. Yep. So this is going to set up a few things for this. It's going to create a doc block with provider for us. And we're going to say public function data provider. We're going to say for title validation. And this is part of the snippet as well. So whatever I entered up here also gets entered down here, because this is referencing this piece. So it can validate a to-do. I like this kind of being a little bit more open-ended for us, so we can actually pass a few things. We'll say a field. Now it's always going to be title, but later on when we have a bunch of different fields we want to test, I think this is going to be a really nice way to go about it. And then we're going to have a value. And I like to pass in if it should succeed. All right, and we're going to also pass it an error message. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a response here, do this, we're going to do a post, and we're going to post this to do. And what we're going to pass is our parameters, which is our field, and that field is going to equal a value. And what we need to do is if should succeed, we're going to check if everything is has succeeded, or else check if everything if it has failed. So within our should succeed, what we want to do is we want to get the response, right? We're going to assert if it should succeed, that it should get a, I think a 201 we want, right? Assert status is a 201, right? Otherwise, we should respond with a 302. Assert status 302. Okay, so we have the 201. Let's go test. We'll make up here, we have a title, we have the field, so that's going to be title. And we have what it's going to equal. This is the value. This is going to be my first to do, and this should succeed, so true. And an error message in case it fails. So I'll say to do with title should succeed. I like doing a little happy path here. So also here I want to say field value should succeed and error message. Just help me out when I'm looking down the road what these all mean. But now we can run this. Let's see what happens. All right, we get a good little thing here. So now if this were, say, false, let's see what happens. So it fails. So it says we got an error code of 302, but received a 201 because it actually passed. So this is good. So everything's working so far. Great. Let's say title. We're actually going to leave it blank, right? And this should fail because to do without title should fail. All right, so now let's see what happens. So now we have one passing. Get all the way up here. We have all this crap, right? So we're failing because not null constraint, right? Well, we don't want to worry about that. We want something to happen to catch this. So let's do PHP artisan make, is it a request? To do request. I think that's it. So we have, let's go up here. Should be in our HTTP, our requests to do request, right? We have our authorization, and we're going to say this is just true for now. This we can actually go and look to make sure maybe a user has a certain role or a certain ability in order to update all this stuff. But here's our rules. So this is, we're going to make one for title. And what we want is, it's going to be required. Okay. So now, yeah, so this actually isn't hooked up into anything, right? So we can still see it fails. So this didn't catch it. So what we want to do is go to our to-do controller, and instead of, when we store something, instead of this request, we're going to do a to-do request. I imported this. It's right there. So this actually goes through that file, and it's going to say, yeah, it fails because it's required, and you gave us nothing. So you can even, let's go back to our to-do test, and actually that's the wrong one. Let's close all of these because they're getting in my way. To-do test for the feature, right? So we can actually just pass null here also, but most likely your front end would send in an empty string at the very least. Now let's say we have let's say we want at least 2 characters, right? So AB, we want at least 3 characters. This should also fail. And actually the error message also, I want to change this. So we're going to want to check all of this in a second, but let's see. The title, we're going to say it's false. Title is required. And for this one, we want title should be more than 2 characters long. Right? So we can actually test this out. So it should succeed or should fail. We should also want to get the response session. Actually, yeah, session. So we're also going to assert when it fails that response assert session has errors, right? And we want to check that field because we don't care about other fields. So let's say we're doing something with multi-fields. We're just looking for this one field in particular, and it should have an error. And we should also do this assert equals our error message, and in session we have error bag, and we're going to get the field, and we're just going to want the very first one, right? So let's try this again. Okay, so all right, so it failed. So you can see these 2 strings are not the same. So this is the one that we set up. Title is required. And this is something from Laravel. The title field is required. I like the way this reads a little bit better, so let's use that. So to do request, and we have our rules here. And at the bottom, we could do messages. And we're going to return an array here, just like above. And for title, we're going to do, I think it's dot required. We're going to say title is required. Oh. Don't forget your semicolons, people. Okay, so now we have 2 passing and 1 failure. And this one is AB false. It was expecting a 302, but it received a 201. So that means it passed. Well, this means we're actually missing something. So we wanted a minimum of 3. All right, 3 characters. So now we hit this, and we can see a different error message. Title should be more than 2 characters long. The title character must be at least 3 characters. I don't mind this, so I'm actually going to keep this. I'm going to return to our tests, and I'm just going to go up to here, and I'm going to change this out. The title must be at least 3 characters, which means I like the way that that reads. Let's keep this all together. The title is required. Go back to this, and we'll make this the title is required. So now if we run everything, all of our tests are passing. But let's say we also don't want the title to be more than, well, it's a small one, maybe 100 characters, right? Let's say no more than 100 characters. Title, we'll say array fill. We're going to start at 0. We're going to say we're going to say 100. We're just going to fill it with A. And all this does is just going to create an entire array. It's just going to fill this whole string with just 100 A, right? 100 letters of A. And this should pass, actually, because we're going to allow a maximum of 100 characters. Title should allow for 100 characters, right? So if we run this, we get everything. Oh, we actually do hit something. Must be type array string given called in. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's an array, so let's implode that. Right? And just give it a no spacing, and there we go. All right, so that works. Fantastic. But if we give it 101 characters, this should fail. And we want a title. Oh, false. All right, so keeping in line with the other error messages, we're going to say the title must be less than, or the title cannot exceed 100 characters. Right? So now if we run this, let's see what happens. Well, we fail because it actually worked. We got away with this. But we don't want that. We want to say we have that, but we also have a max of 100, right? So now this all runs, and we can see our different error message. Now we wrote the title cannot exceed 100 characters, and they have the title must not be greater than 100 characters. I think I like mine better, and we'll go down here and we'll do another part of this, which is title.max. And we're going to paste that in, and we're going to run our test one more time. Perfect. All right, so we now have a test suite that is testing all of this really nice stuff for us, and we get all the validation right out of the box. And yeah, we're creating a to-do, we're able to complete a to-do, we can we're validating our title, and then we can, we could test if things maybe we could test later on to delete something or just whatever we want. We could create a user and have the user actually be a part of the to-do creation, and we're going to jump all into that. But this is a very I'd like to say brief, but I don't know how long this video was already. But it's kind of like a quick insight of how the tests you can write for this. And it's going to be a lot of fun when you start really getting into it and kind of working around these things. It lets you sketch everything up. I think I said that before in the last video, but all right, well, listen, we'll continue working on this in the next videos to come. But if anything, if this provides any value or you learned anything out of this, consider giving this video a like, maybe subscribe. We'll start, diving a little bit deeper into all of this. There is a lot of cleanup and refactoring that I do want to do on this. So if you want to be around for that and see what I do, well, come on back. All right. Cheers.